Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning everyone. How are you today? I hope that you are always healthy. My name is Tasya Meita. My student's number 2022-126. So in this occasion, I will be your moderator from group 4, and we will explain about the relational, existential, and meteorological process.
My name is Louran Putri Mandiri and my ID number is 2021222148. Relational processes or process of being and having. Relational process involve states of being or including having. They can be classified according to whether they are being used to identify something. For example, body to jewel may be the finest living bird player, or to assign a quality to something. Body to jewel is a fine bird player. Process which establish an identity are called identifying process, and process which assign a quality are called attribute process. It has it is was characteristic participant roles. In attribute, these are career and attribute. For example, Barry Tuchwell is a fine horn player. In identifying process, the participants' roles are token and value. Barry Tuchwell may be the first living horn player. Relational process can be further subclassified according to whether they are intensive, possessive, or circumstantial. Intensive. Paul Cutting is arrogant. Possessive. Paul Cutting has dark hair. Circumstantial. Circumstance as attribute. The yoke is in the center. Circumstance as process. Albumen also round the yoke. The option available to relation process can be shown a presence on the next page. Relation process. Attribute, career, and attribute. Identifying token.
Okay, I will to continue presentation. A relational process play a key role in education in subjects such as science, geography, mathematics, and economy. It through this process that this subject create an order, technical vocabulary, and a way of classifying the world. They are fundamental in how the above-mentioned subject constructs the word. It is sometimes difficult to tell whether in relational process is identifying or attributive. Perhaps the easiest way to distinguish between them is that identifying processes are reversible. That is, the clause can be reversed in order and the semantic relationship still hold. For example, Barry Tackwell is a token, may be identifying intensive, the finest living horn player value. And next, the finest living horn player value may be identifying intensive. And Barry Tackwell is a token. In each case, the role, the finest living horn player, and the occupant, Barry Tackwell, are the same If we take a difficult case such as a well is a carrier, is attributive, intensive, a mammal is attributive. We find that while it is reversible, a mammal is a well, the relationship does not hold from the original. Does it? While all whales are mammals, all mammals are not whales, as a mammal is a whale suggests. The clause a whale is a mammal is assigning class membership, not identification. The reversibility test works because identifying process have a passive voice. That is, the clause can be made passive. However, it does not change its form when it is passive, so a root-verb test is so substitutes a relational process which does change. For example, the nucleus is the brain of the cell. The nucleus comprises the brain of the cell. The nucleus is a token, is comprised, is identifying intensive. The brain of the cell is value. And next, the brain of the cell is a value, is comprised of identifying intensive, and the nucleus is a token.
So we'll continue. Here are some of the more common relational processes. Attributive, such as be, get, keep, look, smell, sound, last, cost, need, become, turn, stay, appear, taste, in up, wait, has, require, go, grow, remain, seem, feel, turn out, concern, belong to. And then identifying such as be, add up to, call, represent, form, imply, realize, betoken, resemble, include, comprise, become, play, mean, spell, give, stand for, indicator, indicated, take up, occupy, envelope, provide, equal, act as, define, express, constitute, symbolize, signify, span, own, contain, and cause. Alright, and then the attributive. The attributive, odd, and used fluid. It can by is, or becomes, or goes, or gets, or turns, or grows. And that mildly. And the hunters that keep, or kept, or stayed, or remain, that very still. And then the light through the clouds, that can be looked or appeared or seems like the liquid gold. And that can by smell or taste or feels or sound, that lovely. Then plants can have or need or require, that self walls. Identifying. X is equals, represents, stands for, signifies, or means, that the horizontal axis. So the main part can by comprise or constitute or form, that the human brain. The nucleus
can by is or act as uh, the brain of the cell. And then virus can by cause or are enveloped in that most outbreaks of flu. And then this type of embrocure is called or is known as or is termed by Einstein. Before you accuse us of contradiction, note that the same word can function as different processes depending on its meaning in text. Alright, so for example, she smelled the lovely flowers. She, as sensed, smelled as mental percept the lovely flowers as phenomenon. And then the baking bread smelled delicious. The baking bread as carrier smelled as attributive seeds and delicious as attribute. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will explain about existential process. Existential process are process of existence. There is an example here. There's a unicorn in the garden. There's here is existential. A unicorn as existent. In the garden is circumstance, place. There has no representational function. It is required because of the need for a subject in English. Existential processes are expressed by verbs of existing, like be, exist, arise, and the existence can be a phenomenon of any kind. Next example, there ensued a protracted legal battle. There ensued as existential and and protracted legal battle as existence. If in an existential clause containing a circumstantial element, the circumstantial element is thematic. The word there may be omitted. On the maiden jacket was a blood stain. On the maiden jacket as a circumstance place was existential, a blood stain existent. There was a blood stain on the maiden jacket. There was existential, a blood stain existent, and on the maiden jacket circumstance place. Existential there is not to be confused with a circumstantial there. For example, there your book right where you left it. There is a tribe circumstance, your book attributive, and right where you left it career. Example number two, there is even a book about great Australian Janice. There is existential, even a book is existent, and about great Australian Janice, circumstance matter. There's your book tells where the book is, and then there's even a book about great Australian Janice is telling you that such a book exists. Alright, so that is from me about existential. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Meteorological processes. It's hot. It's windy. It's 5 o'clock. The it has no representational function but does provide a subject. These are analyzed as process meteorological. Hepatitis B is a viral disease which affects the liver. Hepatitis B as a carrier is as attribute intense a viral disease which affects the liver as attributive. It is one of the most prevalent STDs worldwide. It as a token is as ID intense one of the most prevalent STDs as value worldwide as circumstance place. There are over 300 million carriers. R as existential
over 300 million carrier as existence. Because the virus causes no symptoms. The virus as token causes as ID circumstance, no symptoms as value. Most people don't know. Most people as sensor don't know as mental cognition. That they have the disease they as carrier, have as attribute possessive, the disease as attribute. In its acute form, hepatitis B causes many serve symptoms. In its acute form as circumstance place, hepatitis as a token causes ID circumstance, many serve symptom as a value. These include weakness, fatigue, fever, and vomiting. These as token include as ID intense, weakness, fatigue, fever, and vomiting as value. Although this form is not usually fatal, this form as carrier is not as attribute intense, fatal as attribute. The victim frequently requires hospitalization. The victim as a carrier requires as attribute and attribute possessive and hospitalization as attribute.
Alright everyone, so that is our presentation about relational, existential and meteorological process. I'm sorry if we have a lot of mistakes. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.